Now, earlier in the programme, I spoke with Brendan Ferris about the Threshing for Cancer event to be held in Gortnascarry, Killorglin on Sunday 25th of September, at which there'll be a tribute to Butty Sugrue, a dynamic Irishman in the 1960s in London. Now, Butty, a publican and showman, made headlines bringing the Puck Fair goat to London, and also burying Mick Meaney alive to set a world record and pulling a red London bus across Westminster Bridge. Now, his shows of strength were televised by the children's programme Blue Peter at the time. Now, he was also known on the boxing scene. Now, to tell us more about Butty's earlier life, I'm pleased to welcome Terence Houlihan, a trustee of the Killorglin Archive. Terence, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Jerry, and to all your listeners there on Irish Spectrum Radio in London.
Thank you very much. Now, Terence, we heard from Brendan Ferris, the organiser of the Threshing for Cancer, that the event on the 25th of September is likely to attract over 3,000 visitors. Now, this year you're offering something unique as part of the programme, as you'll be celebrating the life of the charismatic Butty Sugrue. Many of our listeners will have, who've been in London, will remember or at least have heard the story of the Butty Sugrue. Can you tell us more about him as a young man? He was nicknamed Butty because of his squat and powerful build, I believe.
Absolutely. His right name was Michael Sugrue, but he because, as you say, of his squat stance, he was called Butty. He was born in the townland Gortnascarry now, where the Threshing event is happening on Sunday the 25th, and he was one of a family of 6 Jerry. There were 3 boys there, and they were all very, very strong, and 3 girls as well. And of course, Butty in his time, he started out just as a farm labourer. They were tough times. He joined the Irish Army at 17 years of age, and of course, he was spent all his spare time there in the gymnasium, training to become a professional weightlifter. And he was also, of course, a variety artist. He was a circus strongman, an amateur boxer, a wrestler, a fight promoter, a television personality, and of course a governor of very famous Irish bars in London.
Right, I believe he was actually a strongman for Duffy's Circus back in the day.
Absolutely. He was with Duffy's Circus for 2 years in the early 1950s. And of course that was in an era, Jerry, when there was no television, very little radio, and the coming of a circus to Parish was a very big event. I'm sure all your listeners and yourself remember Duffy's Circus coming to towns and villages all over Ireland.
Indeed I do.
And of course, it was there that he cut his teeth really in becoming a very good performer. And of course, part of that would be inviting any strong man in the audience to come in and try and outlift him or outlift the weights that he had. And of course, they never achieved that really. So that's really where he got his start.
Right now, he said the best known fighters of the day, such as Henry Cooper, made appearances at his bars for photo opportunities. However, his influence in the boxing world wasn't merely provincial. Tell us more about his involvement with the champ Muhammad Ali and how he brought him to Ireland.
Yes, in 1972, Butty was responsible for bringing Muhammad Ali, of course, who was the best known athlete or sportsman in the world, to fight Ardloo Lewis in Croke Park in 1972. And of course, this was a massive achievement really at the time, to get him. But unfortunately, because of the controls at the gates and things, a lot of people got in free on the day, So money was lost really on the fight. And I think that had he made money on that day, which really he should have, he would have gone on to be a massive promoter because of that. And back in 2012, there was actually a documentary made by True Films, Ross Whitaker and Aileen O'Sullivan for RTE television, and it went on to win the Sports Documentary of the Year. And this was about Butty bringing Muhammad Ali to Dublin to fight.
Right, now that's a truly incredible story. Now, Dublin journalists doubted at the time that Butty's promotion would come to pass, but such was, I think, his force of character. He actually proved them wrong. And Ali's trip to Ireland was, well, apart from that problem with the actual money, it was a huge and resounding success.
It was really. I mean, when you think back on it, it was actually one of the great events of its time. And back then, of course, during 1972, things were very bad in Northern Ireland. So it gave the country a great lift to have Muhammad Ali in Dublin at that time. And he stayed there for a week, and everybody around at that time said he really enjoyed his time in Ireland because the country was so much into sports and knew so much about him and of course he came back afterwards because he was made a free man of Venice. his people actually came from Innis and County Clare. So he had great affection for Ireland after that.
Right. And he actually had a major, I think it was with Muhammad Ali and indeed with Butty. I think it was two showmen in many ways together.
Absolutely, they were both. But you said it there, Jerry. They were both great showmen and well able to sell what their product to the crowd. You know that Muhammad Ali, of course, was interviewed by Cathal O'Shannon on RT television, and it was a hilarious interview. For the half hour, but no problem at all. Telly, he's words at will, and of course with Butty in the background, it was a great week. Unfortunately, as I said, it didn't make money at the time, but Butty went back to London. He got on with the business of the day, got back into his pub there, the Duke of Wellington, and got on with things. He was never a man to just sit on things. He was always a man going forward.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Terence, Butty Sugrue, he was born, as you said, in 1924, but he tragically died young in 1977 at the age of only 53.
Absolutely. He died in his pub in the Duke of Wellington, and he was actually bringing a fridge upstairs in the pub, and of course, Butty being Butty would do it on his own, So he collapsed, and he was brought off to Hammersmith Hospital, and he died some hours later. And that happened in October 1977, Jerry, and his remains, sometimes people think that Butty was buried over in England, but he was actually, his remains were brought back here to Killorglin, and he came in across the bridge into Killorglin on a very wet, rainy night in late October, and I saw his hearse crossing the bridge actually, and it was very poignant because the hearse was lit up, and the tricolour was over his coffin, and I just thought it was a very poignant finish to a great career. But he was brought up to his native area there up around Mainis. He was buried in Churchtown Cemetery, which is a very old cemetery between Killorglin and Beaufort. And he was buried the following day there under 2 pine trees. And those that were there at the funeral said, well, how fitting that Butty would be buried under 2 pine trees, symbols of great strength as he himself had in life. And strangely, Jerry, a man you would have known well too was Christy Kissan.
Indeed.
They're from the Kingdom Pub. Christy was, of course, president of the Kerry London Association, and he passed away, sadly, last year. But he was also brought back, and he was buried in Churchtown. And himself and Butty, who were, of course, two of the best-known governors of pubs in London from the 1960s up until last year, were buried almost side by side. Their family graves are almost adjoining.
Right. Now, I understand that people who knew Butty from his time in London will be at the Threshing for Cancer. There's endless stories about this fascinating man. Rather interesting to hear eyewitness accounts, no doubt, from some of the people from London. Terence, listen, thanks for that fascinating insight into the life and the times of Butty Sugrue, one of Ireland's best-known showmen. And for those wanting to know more, try and get along to the Threshing for Cancer's fundraising taking place at 1 o'clock on Sunday, 25th of September on the farm of Brendan Ferris. And that's at Gortnascarry, Killorglin, which is in mid-Kerry. Entrance is only €5 for adults, and admission is free for children. In addition to the Butty Sugrue exhibition, there'll be also a multitude of other activities. By the way, details on the website, threshingcancer.com. Or you can see the press release at irishradio.org. Terence, this has been fascinating speaking to you. Now, I'm sure you could speak for hours on the legendary Butty Sugrue.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Jory. Can I just say that if any people would like to see any videos or anything of Butty, if they Google Killorglin Archive, we have videos of Butty and his life up there. Anyone that would be interested in London and would like to find out more. And of course, we'll have Con Griffin, who was a great friend of his, a strongman and world record holder, there on the day as well. And once again, thanks to yourself, Jory, and to your communications manager there, Catherine Murphy, who tells me her brother, Catherine Foley, came from Carley, Killorglin. So it's a small world. Thanks very much indeed.
Is it just, Terence, a real pleasure. Thank you indeed.
God bless, Jerry. Thank you very much indeed.